1 million scooters are being ridden illegally in the UK. Owners risk confiscation, unlimited fines and penalty points on their driving licence if they have one or if they get one in future. Currently, the only legal scooter is a rental one that operates in pilot schemes in some UK cities. The first trial began 4 years ago and now the government has extended them to 2026. Well, pedestrians may hate them, a lot of them do, but makers and users of e-scooters say that there's enough data now to support the case for legalisation. Bob Walker has been to visit one user who's already paid the price for using his scooter.
It's been quite a while since I've been on this, since I got stopped in April 21 and I've dared not ride it again. This is an electric e-scooter. I went for one with solid tyres that can't have punctures. It's Australian, but it's within the legal requirements of maximum speed, 15 miles an hour, etc. My name's Dr. Clive Shackleton. I'm a GP in Kettering. I bought the scooter to use to get to and from work so I could avoid using my car. I used it a lot for commuting in the lockdown as a doctor. I was going to the out of hours, GP surgeries. They're also great fun to ride. And I took it away with me to Hunstanton when we were on holiday in Norfolk. And I was just going along a road with a helmet on, with lights on. And the policeman stopped. And technically, correctly, they did me for riding an illegal motor vehicle without insurance. And I had tried to get insurance. I would like to have insurance. I knew it was strictly against the law what I was doing, but I felt that I would get a warning. But they decided to impound the scooter. Then I had to get the scooter from the pound in King's Lynn the next day at a cost of £150 with a £300 fine and 6 points on my licence. And I've never ever had points on my licence before, and I'm age 65 now. It's got inbuilt lights. You can actually press on the back mudguard to brake. But there's also a disc brake at the back. Stopping was never a problem.
But this £500 machine has been gathering dust in a lockup ever since that day in Norfolk. Clive does still occasionally use a scooter on the streets of Kettering, but it's a hire scooter owned by Voi, which is one of the companies taking part in the government-sanctioned trial schemes.
There are still a lot of people using these ones.
Private ones?
Private ones. And in fact, I was in the big electrical superstore up the road the other day, and they've got for sale a good dozen adult, and they've got children's electric scooters, pink ones, and yet they're blatantly selling them. I did say to the chap, you realise these are not legal? And they said, well, we inform the customers, it's not our responsibility.
It's legal on private land with the permission of the landowner.
But what does that mean? It doesn't make sense. It's completely illogical. I would say that 99.999% of the scooters are being used on public land, roads.
Not everyone is a fan of scooters, of course. People complain they're used mainly by young people out for joyrides. They're parked carelessly and seen by some as a danger to pedestrians. I'm still in Northamptonshire, but I'm now on the Brackmills Industrial Estate, which is a sprawling business and logistics park about 3 miles to the east of Northampton. And it employs thousands of people in a whole range of businesses. I spent about 20 minutes driving around here, and I've literally lost count of the number of rental e-scooters outside the various units here. And in front of me I can see 8 scooters. Now, they must have been used by people solely to commute to work because, well, there simply isn't anything else around here.
We found that e-scooters are used to replace walking or cycling in quite significant percentages. For walking, it was around 37%, and for cycling, this was around 10% in Bristol.
Dr. Manos Haniatakis is an associate professor at University College London. He looked at the impact of the e-scooter rental scheme in Bristol. Scooters have been used for journeys which would have been made on foot or by bike, but he says it's also had a significant impact on car use, and under ideal conditions it can reduce transport-related CO2 emissions by 45%.
Around 13% of trips replaced would have been taken by car or by taxi. Replacing 13% of car trips or taxi trips is yielding a significant reduction in emissions due to the huge difference between like car emissions and e-scooters emissions in life cycle terms.
He says allowing the use of privately owned scooters could have a positive impact on urban transport.
It is indeed the case that every car trip replaced is again contributing to less traffic, higher air quality and lower emissions. So generally, yes, I would expect that if e-scooters are being used to replace short car trips, they would have a very positive impact to the environment.
But there's still no indication of when the government is likely to legislate for the use of privately owned scooters on public roads. A Department for Transport spokesman told us that safety was a top priority, and extending the trials by 2 years would allow the government to gather more information which could be used to bring in regulations.
The trial started almost 4 years ago as a pandemic response to reduced public transport. We've come through the pandemic. We have now reached some kind of transport normality, I think. And in all honesty, we have shown the demand. We have shown that it is safe, broadly analogous to push bike cycling.
Matthew Penchars is head of policy in the UK, Ireland and France for Voi, the largest operator of the current e-scooter trials. He wants to see a properly regulated private sector as well as more rental schemes. He says there's a lot of frustration within the industry over the lack of legislation.
If we want to meet our carbon targets, we need to reduce the amount of, especially the short journeys in urban areas that we drive around in a car. The rental schemes are absolutely a key part of that, but also so is private ownership, so long as there is a level playing field. Things such as type approval, that is being checked by the DFT, having speed controls. Ours are speed controlled to 12.5 miles an hour. There should be a similar speed controls for private e-scooters and insurance and things like that. We would support the wider legalisation of private e-scooters so long as they are properly regulated and have the same sort of rules broadly as rental schemes.
Created as a collaboration by the engineers behind the e-TWOW and PET, it's a masterfully designed scooter with the urban user in mind.
A video showcasing just one scooter sold by Personal Electric Transport, a micro-mobility company set up by Mark Schaffer in 2015.
Well, the people who got involved with PET saw this as the obvious kind of like next step in transport policy, something that we should all be embracing. Our specialty is stuff that you can carry around with you. That was what we saw was the magic idea. Instead of 3 kilometers per kilowatt, it was 30 kilometers per kilowatt. And if you ask yourself, okay, well, how much material does it really take to move an individual around a city at speeds of up to 20 miles an hour safely? The answer is not 2 tons of steel. The answer is more like 20 kg. That was the big idea. And that's what we were so excited about.
But he says delays in legalising the use of private scooters are destroying the industry here.
Our customer base were forward-thinking people into sustainability, into the environment, into tech, who saw this as a great idea. And people were, getting out of their SUVs, dumping their cars, and they were using these things to get to work. And it was revolutionizing people's lives. Effectively, anybody who has something to lose, such as your driving license or don't want to be on the wrong side of the law, and, quite like the idea of being a law-abiding member of society, they've all given up. So those scooters are hanging around in broom cupboards and sheds and garages. All those people are back in their cars. If we really kind of put our minds to it, we can sort our cities out. We can come up with a cohesive transport policy. Micromobility has to be a component in that.
That was Mark Schaffer ending Bob Walker's report.